Yeah, once again, big up, big up all ones in the air, and we're here in the spaceship, Dub School TV. And let's talk about some more plugins that I use on a daily basis. This one is part of the Fab Filter bundle, and it goes by the name of Saturn 2. And Saturn 2 is for saturation. And this plugin is great because you can add saturation to any part of the frequency range that you feel like. So, on most of my channels that I feel like need a little top end touch up, I usually create a band right here and move it around about halfway, and then I increase this side by about 2 or 3 dB. And what is happening here? Alright, here's an important thing. Some of these, there are many different ways to create saturation. But specifically, what I'm talking about now is the cleanest saturation that you barely hear. You more feel it. So I use a setting here named Subtle Tube, and that is after skipping through. And matter of fact, I got some information on that from my Bridget Zion, top engineer in the place. And yeah, more or less, same thing. I create this line right here, and then just turn up this side. More or less, if I want to add a little saturation to the bass, I'll turn up this side. But for most part, I want to touch up the vocal, I want to touch up the snare, I want to touch up the hi-hat, piano. For most part, I'm using this side from halfway to the highest range. And I'm more or less not touching anything else. Sometimes you have to keep the output gain at -1. So, and then the cool thing about Fab Filter, most of these plugins, is if from you notice something you like with a plugin, the best thing to do is save it as default, so that every time you open the plugin, you're basically at a point that you know you like. And then I'm sure, after time I'm going to go through all of these. I feel like some of these are how Kanye getting the distortion on his voice to sound like a guitar. And yeah, that's Saturn 2, and I highly recommend it. CLA 2 from Waves, and this is something I use on every project as well. And it basically emulates a piece of hardware that looks just like that. It's very expensive. That been using on world-class productions from probably the 60s come now. I'm not sure. This is classic stuff, but being emulated for the computer. And yeah, I'm looking up because I can switch around these screens though. Yeah, I'm looking up at, I don't know if, anyway, yeah, so CLA 2, I try to use this, or I find something that does the same thing. What this does is that you can add some gain, but then you're pulling down the peaks. Oh, I don't play my rhythm yet. Check this out. Oh, god damn. Alright, let me close some stuff on my machine here, because I might be doing a bit too much. Wait, I can't even close. Let's put something uploading. Yeah. Alright. Apologies for that. I'm here on a Mac Mini M1, But this is, I usually mix until um I get a good sound. But often temptation brings me to the point where a computer is moving at a certain rate, because you can add as much automation as you want, and by the time you go in into each effect, it can get very heavy on the computer. Anyway, so this is the compressor working on the bus for the phrases. Some blank spaces in the phrases, man. More or less, I use this to the point that it's going to -1, and I just adjust the gain. Gain pushes up the volume, and then the peak reduction brings down. So that's how compression works. You have something pushing up, and you have something pushing down. That's compression. So the CLA2, and then I have some emulators that do similar, and the one that Waves provide is one of the highest quality. Alright, what else do I use here? So yeah, I started using SSL with it because I realized like Dr. Dre is like a billionaire and he still seems to use his SSL. And to me, I don't know about people. Clicking mouse, that's not what I dream about as a youth. See me? I dreamed about these big, enormous boards and doing all of this, some blam blam bloom running up and down, these scratch perry going like this, woman, some knobs. That's what I grew up with. It's like you dream about Lamborghinis your whole life, and then when you get old, them tell you say a Lamborghini biggest engine is like a 2 liter, and it's not fast anymore. So that's kind of how I feel about this bunch of digital stuff. Anyway, SSL channel can do a lot simultaneously because this is one plugin here. This replaces a filter plugin. So you can trim off. Suppose you don't want any bass frequencies to come out of the phrases. Just trim it off. I'm moving this here to about 70. That means that nothing coming out of this is going to interfere with your bass line or your kick and mask it. And then I've been doing some very minor adjustments recently, and I kind of liking how it sounds. So didn't touch the high frequency. I added a minute proportion to, what's this? Oh, my screen is too high up there. Yeah. So in the high mids, I touched up a little. Didn't touch anything in the low mid, didn't touch anything in the low. And then I added a little bit of, alright, compression is here, gate is here. I didn't really add much here. I think I just used this for the filter because everything else was kind of dialed in nicely. But more or less, one channel strip has a filter, there's an EQ section, there's a compressor, there's a gate or an expander. Gate, expander here. And yeah, and then if the volume is too high, you trim it down a little bit before it comes out, so that you are properly at the right volume. Okay. And then something simple that I use a lot is the good old fashioned gain knob. And this is good if you want to test. You can immediately go from stereo to mono here and test if you're having any issues. If you're playing your rhythm and then you press mono and you notice that you're not hearing certain things, you might be having phase issues, and more or less Sometimes something is too loud. You just pull down the gain a little bit on it. And sometimes I use it on my master channel right before everything. I just pull down everything by a little bit, even though it's not something I try to use every time on my master channel. But sometimes an instrument comes in loud, you just want to pull it down a little bit before, so you have a lot of headroom going into the channel. On my bass line, I always run it through a bass amp, and this is actually the bass amp that comes with Logic, and there's a preset named Deep, and I just use that and kind of fix it to my preference. And I learned this little trick ready from Worm Bass, because at one point I was cutting out all my treble, so I add back a little treble, but I cut out the mid, and little compression, and this turns my bass much deeper. Alright, what I have to do is cut off some uploads and get my computer running right, but you'll hear that rhythm another time. Was that 5? Alright. Losing track of my count here, people. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's how it is sometimes in the spaceship. Alright, this aura here is my reverb. And yes, I will have to do another one of these where I'm actually playing through the song. I could probably do it, but I'm feeling a little lazy. But anyway, this is my reverb that I use, and the reason why I like it is because I can sync the decay time. So instead of having to pull out the calculator and saying, how much is it? 60,000 divided by the tempo times something, la 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 la, and then you get the decay rate in, what is it, microseconds? Instead of doing all of that, it is more about, wait, I'm live streaming for an hour. I could double check what the fuck. Anyway, alright, so yeah, this is one little shortcut reverb from where I usually just put on a little bit of pre-delay, and then I set one at half, one at 1, and one at 2. That's kind of how I've been shortcutting it recently. And yeah, I get a great sound, and then I kind of toggle from there. You have different settings here as well to give you different kind of sound and reverbs. Sometimes I use a room on half, then I use soft on 1, and then I'll use space on 2. And that usually gives me some nice sound and reverb. I mean, I don't have the Celine Dion weekend type reverbs locked yet, but I know it's all in the technique and the sound, and yeah, every day we learn something. So these are some plugins that I wish I knew about when I started. So why not teach the youth? Alright, big up.